Maryam Dauda is officially a South Carolina Gamecock. She's a 6'4" center who transferred from Arkansas. When you factor in her offensive and defensive capabilities, she's one of the most versatile players in the country. Arkansas is a very interesting case study. They lost 15 games last year, but the players that entered the transfer portal were highly sought after, which makes sense considering their potential. I don't know if there's a bigger insult to someone's coaching ability than that. The entire NCAA is basically saying Mike Neighbors has elite players, but lacks the ability to do anything with them. I think Mariam and Janiah Barker are similar. They are 6'4", 3-level scorers who are athletic, and they are very good defenders. In theory, they should be an AP All-American level player, but for whatever reason, it doesn't quite translate on the floor. There's flashes of the dominant players that they potentially can be, but it needs to be brought out more consistently. If anyone can do that for Dauda, it's Dawn Staley. I don't consider Dauda the final piece for South Carolina because they already had enough to win another championship. I consider this sprinkles on ice cream. You don't need it, but it definitely helps. I have mixed feelings about this. On one hand, Mariam is an excellent on-the-court fit and makes an already elite team even better. She's an incredible defender, has a lot of weapons on offense, and she's used to a fast pace of play. On the other hand, when a team already has a core good enough to win multiple championships, any further additions could potentially disrupt the rhythm of the team. I see a lot of comparisons between this transfer and Te-Hina Paopao, but I think a major difference is that Te-Hina wasn't hurting anyone's minutes. With the addition of Dauda, South Carolina could potentially have a 6-post player rotation, featuring Ashlyn Watkins, Chloe Kitts, Joyce Edwards, Fagan, Dauda, and Adele Tack. Last year, they only ran a rotation of 4. Between them, there was about 80 minutes shared. In other words, each player got around 20 minutes each, which is perfect. I know Sakima was also on the team last year, but she was never a real part of the rotation. But this year, all the post players are good enough to play meaningful minutes and would easily start on other teams. If anyone can figure it out, Dawn could, but sharing 80 minutes between 6 players will be very difficult. Fagan was the 4th-ranked recruit in her class. She barely played any minutes her first 2 years and played 15 minutes her junior year. If Fagan minutes are limited next year because of Dauda, that would set a bad precedent. A big selling point for South Carolina is waiting your turn for the greater good for the team, and eventually you'll play. This is Fagan's draft year, so she needs to get enough time to not only show WNBA scouts what she can do, but she also needs more on-the-court experience to develop her skills. In the short term, Fagan barely getting any minutes would not affect South Carolina, but it could have long-term ramifications. Players would be less willing to wait multiple years to get playing time if a transfer that plays the same position can come in and skip the line. This potentially could make players less inclined to commit to South Carolina, or they might transfer out in fear of never getting playing time. But to be fair, I don't think Dawn Staley would do that. As long as her play on the court backs it up, I think she'll reward Fagan for being loyal. I don't expect her minutes to be limited unless her performance doesn't justify her being out there. Ashlyn Watkins' minutes will most likely be safe. Mariam is a better shooter than Ashlyn, but Watkins is a better defender, rebounder, and more dangerous inside the paint. And Ashlyn Watkins outplayed her in a head-to-head. Ashlyn is only 6'3", but her supreme athleticism more than makes up for it. She doesn't have anything to worry about. Chloe Kitts could be in trouble. Maryam Dauda is presumably going to be there for 2 years. If Chloe doesn't develop a consistent three-pointer so she can be ran at the small forward position, her minutes could definitely get cut. If she were to transfer next year because of this, that would be a really bad loss. It's important to mention that she is dating a South Carolina basketball player, so that definitely reduces the risk of her transferring. If Adele Tack doesn't get a lot of minutes next year, I don't think that would be the end of the world. She's coming off a major injury. Even if Dauda didn't transfer, it's possible she wasn't going to play a lot her freshman year anyway. There's rumors about Sakima leaving, but I'm not sure how true that is or not. Regardless, she wasn't going to get much playing time, so it's not the biggest deal. Joyce Edwards is the one I'm worried about the most. We're talking about a potential top 5 player in college basketball one day. If there's any player you would not want to lose, it's Joyce Edwards. We haven't seen Joyce play a minute of college basketball, but I'm willing to bet she could cook most players even as a freshman. Just from an eye test, you can tell she's different. With the direct payment system coming out soon, You best believe teams like USC and LSU would drop a crazy bag to entice Joyce to leave if she barely gets any minutes. Maryam Dauda is a great player, but it creates a problem with potentially keeping every player happy in terms of minutes. However, there is a solution, and this is what I ultimately predict will happen. Camila Cardoso sat behind Aaliyah Boston, but during her senior year, she became a huge part of the offense. I could see a very similar situation with Maryam Dauda. I think she'll come off the bench this year, then have a much bigger role during her senior season. Adele Tack is still recovering from her injury, so she could redshirt and preserve her eligibility for the years that she will be able to get more playing time. Fagan will have a similar role to Letitia Amy here. Chloe Kitts and Ashlyn will start. Joyce Edwards will have a similar role as Full Wiley in terms of being a player who comes off the bench and rips the game open. Some games she'll play a ton of minutes, while some games you might not see her very much. This way no one's toes get stepped on, draft stocks aren't hurt, and you have a team that easily would make the Final Four again and potentially repeat. That's it for this video. I know there's been a lot of WNBA videos lately, but if you like college basketball, don't worry. I got some good college videos coming out later this month. What do you think South Carolina's post-player rotation will look like next year? I'm curious what people's opinions on this are. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.